right, good evening, everyone. We'll get started. Thank you for the faithful few that showed up in person and the many others that are watching online. So grateful for your investment of time as we talk about the school and the state of the school. But before we get into that, let's open up in a word of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this school and the celebration of 30 years of your faithfulness, knowing that you have been with this school from its inception and now even today. We could look to you and just your gracious hand and provision. Thank you for just this beautiful campus that you've given us and the teachers, staff, but most of all the parents and the students that have committed themselves to investing in education and seeing the importance of a Christian education from a classical perspective. Bless this time that we have, and we ask all this in your name. Amen. Well, it's really no secret that the world that we're in is quite chaotic, particularly from a political standpoint. It's a election year, and it's been especially crazy. And a lot of times we think, well, this certainly can't be. This is an unprecedented time in history. We have a history teacher in attendance, and I think kind of the old adage, like, don't make me repeat myself, said history. You know, there's always like this sense that we're in this kind of novel time period, but really history does repeat itself. One of my favorite characters in history, I'm English, so King Alfred the Great in the mid-1800s rose to power. He was in a very, you could argue, a very similar kind of chaotic state. Danes are attacking from all sides. They're constantly being bombarded and harassed. And to the point where the Danes had basically conquered the Saxon region as the people in that region submitted to this Danish rule, except for King Alfred. He and a small band of his faithful few hid in the marshes and kind of started this guerrilla-style warfare until he could get enough, muster enough troops to create this surprise attack and get a foothold back and eventually repel the Danes. One of the things that was really interesting, and in this chaotic time, you would think that of all the things that would be important to a king, learning and literacy and the Bible would certainly be low on the list. You think safety, protection would certainly be high, but he was invested in education, deeply invested. He was a man of faith, of deep faith, and really his answer to this crazy, chaotic time was actually look to the past. He was himself a fairly educated man, would translate many of the Latin texts into English vernacular, and by doing that raised the standard of his country. And I think we're all here because I think we see the value of education, that in a world where artificial intelligence and social media algorithms are telling us what to think and how to think, that actually the answer to all of that is to look to the past and look to history and ultimately God and his word, to be deeply invested into what is actually true, what is actually good and what is actually beautiful, not necessarily what some robot with some puppet master computer programmer telling us what those things are, but actually seeking those out for ourselves and giving students the tools to learn and digest and to use all of those tools in a way that they can create wisdom. And so we're here to talk about this school that 30 years ago, a small band of families decided to do something quite countercultural, and that was to go against kind of the norms of the times, which was just go to the neighborhood public schools. And they thought education actually could be something different, and it could be actually something quite better. One of the famous sayings from Jack Carter is to stamp out ignorance, and that's really been the mantra, I guess, of this school is to stamp out ignorance. And so, as a school, our founding mission statement still exists today. And I bring this up because it really is foundational to who we are as a school. We first and foremost exist to glorify God. Second of all, we provide it in community. We do it with one another. We're committed to the classical and Christian ideals of truth, goodness, and beauty, those three transcendentals. The cultivation of wisdom and virtue, and the integration of faith and learning with all of life. And that is foundational to who we are as a school. But being 30 years, we also don't want to neglect the fact that God has been faithful to us. The ups and downs of this school and year to year praying that we will make it to the end of the year, whether it's financially or challenges with staff or students, enrollment, all of the ups and downs of trying to exist in the Coastal Bend as an educational institution. God has been faithful to us, and we celebrate that with our verse about running with endurance. And we have been given a race that's been set before us, and now it's for as the baton has been passed down year after year, generation after generation, it's our turn to take that baton and to run the race that's set before us. So this year, as we take that baton, there are three core values that I talk to our staff about. And as a school, these are three things that help us kind of set the course that we're on. The first is to be intentional in our shepherding of the students, and as administrators, shepherding of whether it's the facilities or the teachers. And the core virtue that is what a good shepherd is love, and particularly agape love. The second is be skillful in what we're doing, pursue excellence as a virtue. And the third is to partner professionally with fortitude with those that are in our care. And these are really been key core values, and we'll talk about how these kind of flesh out and flow out of what we're doing this year as a school. So at this time, I'm going to ask our school board president, Rob George, to come up. As the school board has been working on a strategic plan and the vision statement, they have finalized this, and I want Rob to talk about that process.
Thank you, Travis, and I'll echo his sentiment saying thank you for joining us live and in person here, and for those that are watching online, thank you for taking time to be with us this evening, and as you watch it later, hopefully it'll be just as clear later as it is tonight, but if you have questions, you can find us around campus whenever you find us around campus. So I'm not going to read the entire vision statement to y'all this evening. It's obviously lengthy, but it, like the mission statement, has been in existence for the 30-year history of this school. We think as a board that it is extra important to honor the wisdom of those who started the school by shepherding as opposed to modifying and changing. It's not the board's job to come in and wholesale change the school. It's the board's job to be faithful to what was set before us, as you might imagine in the nature of a classical and Christian school. But I do want to point out that last sentence. The vision statement beautifully describes what we as a school want to do in raising up the next generation of warriors. But we want to do it, and we want the students that graduate from here to possess all of these qualities listed in the vision statement. We want them to possess it with humility and with gratitude towards God. So one of the great things, and I'll talk about this later, in the 30-year history of our school, we have a lot of opportunity for gratitude. But I want to mention the humility part of this because Travis mentioned we did just adopt a strategic plan for the school. And if you ever want to experience humility, just show God your plans. However, that being said, I'm going to address a little bit about how we got to where we are with the vision statement and the mission statement guiding us. So for the past couple of years, with the mission statement and the vision statement as guides, the board has gone through a strategic planning process. And I want to give a little bit of the vision for the strategic planning process, if you will. And I'm going to borrow this from Regents in Austin, which is another classical Christian school. The way that they described strategic planning was like this. The purpose of vision is to provide an organization an idea of what could be. A strategic plan is the blueprint for what the Lord may do in our midst over the next 5 years. And the vision for an institution provides the foundation for the strategic plan. So the board started with the vision and the mission of the school, and through about 2 years of planning and meeting with Mr. Lockyer and meeting with faculty committee, who's representative of our faculty, and again, a lot of our own meetings and so forth, we developed a strategic plan that follows these 5 categories. These 5 categories are actually the cornerstones on which the Association of Classical Christian Schools, our accreditation agency, accredits the school. So we felt like it was appropriate to follow the structure that we are actually, I'll just say, graded on or accredited on as a school. And tonight, the presentation you're going to hear from us this evening will fall into these 5 categories. We really want, as a board and as a school, to continue moving forward. We've had 30 years of history, and we want to move forward now in a continued following of the direction that God has set before us. So like I mentioned, we're going to hear tonight in these categories. I'll come back up in a little bit. You're also going to get to hear from 2 of our other wonderful administrators in the school, Miss Erin Stapper and Miss Carrie Stice, who will come visit with you in a minute. But for now, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Lockyer.
Let's talk about the first one, the mission, vision, and planning. So this is a breakdown of the initial statement of the portrait of a graduate. We have to know where our goal is, where we're heading, in order for us to know if we're meeting those standards or not. And really what we're looking at is, by the end of the times that the students are here, we want them to be wise and virtuous, to know God and enjoy Him forever, and then from there to go on and serve their neighbor well. There are 5 things that we want our graduates to do. 1 is to know and love Jesus Christ. 2, joyfully submit their life to God. 3, stand firm on the truth of the Bible. 4, listen, think, and speak with wisdom. And 5, be socially graceful and spiritually gracious. And the 6th one, there's 6, live a life of humble gratitude all their days. And really what happens is, this portrait is not something that we made it to the end of Annapolis Christian Academy and now I can kind of shed off the dress code and all the rules and constraints and then kind of live however I want. What we're doing is implanting and ingraining them a certain way of living and actually want them to love the standard that we're giving them. And so this portrait is really what we're framing, honestly, for the rest of their lives. So we measure our success not necessarily the number of students that graduate, go on to college, and go to the career of their choice. So certainly those are great goals, but to us those are secondary goals. We want them to be great husbands and wives, fathers and mothers. Those are how we want to measure our success as a school. The second one is the accountability and stability. And the main way for us as a school to measure our stability as a school is our finances. As you can see, that the largest portion of the revenue that we get from for our school is in the tuition and registration fees. That by far and away is the largest point. The second most important portion or part of that pie comes in fundraising and grants. And Carrie Stice, our Director of Advancement, will talk about how important fundraising is, and your role in that contributes dramatically to our success and stability as a school. And then there are expenses, which again, the largest proportion of expenses come from salary, benefits, and payroll. We have committed ourselves to, even though things are very tight and financially things are razor thin as far as the margins, We commit ourselves to giving our teachers raises and committed in the strategic plan to continue to improve the benefits. For us to not only recruit highly qualified staff, but to keep them and retain them, we know that we want to continue to provide benefits and financial packages that allow them to be committed here, to live, to live comfortably with the salaries that we're giving. And so for us as a school, is committing ourselves to continue improving the benefits that we provide for our teachers. We were able to, over the last couple of years, provide a retirement package where the school absorbs the costs of many of the fees of that. We are trying to improve our tuition remission with our teachers that are here and continue to improve that. So as we can not only provide better salary, we also want to provide better benefits. And again, we want people to come here, stay here, and provide deep roots here, particularly for faculty that have students that are enrolled in the school. The second marker for us as far as stability is our enrollment. We have been blessed. We opened up this year with 300 students. You can see historically that this is one of our higher enrollment years. We have, over the last 6 years, dramatically increased our enrollment. Although it's a little bit down from last year, it's still historically one of our better years, and we are looking to use this as kind of our baseline, and from here be able to grow slow, steady over the years as we continue to improve our retention rates. Our goal is to be at 90% retention, which for us as a school would be historically high. We feel like we can do that as we continue to commit to deliver and improve on what we're doing as a school. Next is our governance and administration. At this point, I'm going to ask Rob George to come back up here and talk about the school board and the governance of the school.
Okay, so the administration of the school is guided by a board of trustees. Our role as the board is purely strategic. So that means Travis and I don't have a conversation every day when he wants to decide how many students go in a classroom. We don't have conversations with the administrative leadership of the school that gets into that level of detail. The role of the board as a strategic board is to do what we've done, which is establish a strategic plan for the school, and then to help the school live through that strategic plan. So the board members, right now there are 6 of us. The bylaws allow somewhere between 5 and 9. You can read some of the characteristics on the slide, but for those watching, if the slide's not up there, your board members all have to be committed to classical Christian education. We have to wholeheartedly support the school's statement of faith, the vision, the mission, and the objectives of the school without reservation. We are all parents of students in the school. There is only one exception to that, and that is when a board member's child cannot actually participate in the school because of a particular diagnosis that makes it impossible for that child. A board member can also be a former parent, so someone whose children have graduated from the school. At the moment, all 6 of us on the board have children actively enrolled in the school, and if we don't have a child in the school right now, it's because the child's too young to enroll in the school. The board itself is self-perpetuating, meaning we prayerfully invite new members to join based on the needs that we see on the board. We have 3 new members that joined us over the summer: Amy West, Tony Leifer, and Nathan Brush. The Leifer family has been involved in the school for almost all 30 years that it has been in existence. The West came to us last year, and Amy began serving on the finance committee of the board with Mr. Pepper. And then Mr. Brush has been in the school with his wife and family for going on about 10 years at this point, and they have a younger daughter at home who will be enrolling in the school in the next couple of years. Lane Pepper, who is the finance chair on the board and the board's treasurer, and then Natalie O'Rourke, who is the development chair on the board, and I are your returning board members for this year. If you would like to learn more about us, you can read our bios on the school's website. So some of the things that we're looking forward to in 2024 and 2025, in this particular school year, I kind of alluded to this earlier. In the 30 years of the school's history, we've had many, many opportunities to express our gratitude to the Lord. Travis talked a little bit in the financial part about what I'm just going to call landing the plane at the end of the year, and many of you have been involved in nonprofits, kind of understand what I'm talking about, and probably some business folks too. The idea of at the end of your fiscal year, you make it across the finish line with hopefully money in the bank. And we've had years in the history of this school where come even February in the school year, we're like, Lord, we don't know how we're going to get there. But then he brings in new students, or he brings in a surprise gift, or he brings in a surprise new donor or new grant that hadn't been expected. Or he increases giving among the families who are already involved in the school, but he always has a way of bringing the school across the finish line. By his grace, over the last couple of years, our finances have been in a stronger position. He's added new students to the school. He's brought in new fundraisers to the school, new givers to the school. So we're always grateful for that. But I think above and beyond the finances of the school, what the board and the administration is most grateful about is the people that God faithfully brings to the school every year. As a board and as an administration, we believe it's our role as a school to serve the families that God brings into the school. And faithfully, every year, he brings amazing families, whether it's returning families like the Leafers, who I said have been here at 20 years or plus or minus at this point, or brand new families who are coming into the school for the first time this year. Faithfully, every year, God adds to our numbers the right families. It's sad when we see friends leave who need to make decisions to go somewhere else to support their families better, but God always has new families coming in, and he always strengthens the families that are here with us. This year, we're also going to be implementing the strategic plan. I mentioned it's a 5-year plan. We do intend to roll out a more formal presentation of the plan itself. Right now, it's what I call in back office form, not really in marketing form. We want to put it out in a more digestible format so that everybody who's an Annapolis constituent can understand it better. So that'll come in the future. But as we begin this process through Mr. Lockyer and other administrators, they'll be developing the plans to actually implement the high-level strategic plan itself. So we're looking forward to that coming in the near future. We're also going to be you saw the numbers for enrollment that Travis mentioned a moment ago. So we're going to be working on, as we enter in a new recruiting season in a couple months, making sure that the school has an appropriate number of students. There is kind of a magic operational number out there that makes it easier on the finances, but sometimes when you start butting up against that number, you start getting into opportunities for growth in the culture. So you kind of have to raise those two things up at the same time. You have to deepen and strengthen your culture, and you have to recruit the right kinds of families through a recruitment process and an admission process that bring in the appropriate kinds of people for the school, those that are also going to add to the culture through becoming disciple leaders, which is really our ultimate goal for our students. As part of that, we're going to have a new board member training program. We have a committee on trustees that will be rolling that out for the board members. That will deepen and strengthen our understanding of classical Christian education, both, hopefully for Travis's sake, not too far into the weeds in the pedagogy of how to teach in a classical Christian style, but certainly from a methodology perspective and a theological perspective on the Christian side of things. So the board itself wants to deepen and strengthen our own understanding and appreciation of classical Christian education. And then you're going to see continued opportunities for community engagement. You'll see your board members at like the Warrior Men's lunches. You'll probably see some of the ladies that go to the prayer meeting. You'll see other opportunities that will be mentioned later on in the presentation this evening, where you'll see your board members engaging. Like I mentioned earlier, we are family members in the school too. Our kids are going to school here. So when we make decisions, it doesn't just affect people outside of us, it also affects our own families. When we think about community engagement in particular, we as a board and an administration believe that one of the gifts that we can give to the school is continuing to engage the parents and the families in the school. So we're looking forward to seeing some of those outreach programs develop deeper this year. If you have ideas for those, please share them with Mr. Lockyer or with me if you see me. What we want to make sure is that as a school, this isn't a place where our families just want to drop their children off and then we babysit them for 8 hours and then we turn them back over. There is so much deep value, both eternal value and present value, that we provide as a school that we want to make sure our parents are also part and parcel with what we do here. Our job is not to babysit students for 8 hours a day. Our job is to come alongside the parents who have committed to this style of education and to support them in raising their children. So as we roll out some of these parent engagement opportunities for the parents in the room and online, don't hesitate to share with us your ideas of how you feel like we might be able to better do that. Or also, it would be great to hear if you feel like something's working, to share that with us too. Thank you very much.
We'll keep this moving, otherwise the Hodges children will be like Lord of the Flies out there. So, yeah, it's too late. Yeah. Well, as we are looking forward to the 2024 to 2025, we've been able to witness God's faithfulness to ACA. Our administration is set up with myself. As we communicated, we had to kind of pivot some of the administration. So as head of school, I'm also the upper school grammar principal, so that's 4th through 6th grade, and then the solar principal. Jessica Prothrow has taken on the responsibility. She was early childhood, but she's taken on the responsibility from pre-K all the way through 3rd grade. It's been a great blessing to have her. We've kind of divided and conquered the campus, and so we've really, it's been a blessing that she's been willing to step up, and it's been a great being able to have a point person in that building is really critical for the success of the lower grammar program, and then being able to support the 4th through 12th grade myself. And then Carrie Seiss has joined us this summer as she's going to take on the Director of Advancement. You'll hear from her later. And just really been blessed to have that position filled as well, as we were kind of balancing. That was a vacant position for several months, and so now having that filled has been a great blessing as well. The next point is stewarding the campus, and God has blessed us with a wonderful campus. We really, as I tour around the country with different accreditation visits, usually I've been going once a year. I know Aaron Stapper went to California to visit another classical Christian school there, and one of the big takeaways from her when Molly Jenkins came back was like, you would not believe the school and the facilities and how they're making that work. Like, it's just like they don't have anything compared to what we do, and that's really one of the leading schools in the classical Christian movement. So we are just incredibly blessed. We feel a little bit spoiled, but when we start comparing ourselves to other schools that are renting facilities and trailers and portables and church basements and things like that, it's just like God has been incredibly faithful to us, and so we also want to be faithful to the building and grounds that we've been given. Some of the projects, and there's quite a few, happened this summer. We are a tenant of the Ed Rochelle Foundation. They have been a wonderful gift from God for us, as they have poured in money on the major systems here on campus. As this is campus, there was aging things regarding HVAC systems, buildings that were not integrated together, and they have poured money into this to integrate the campus, upgrade particularly our air conditioning units and heating units, and we are just amazingly blessed. And their goal is to basically put these things in place that we wouldn't have to worry about them for a good amount of time, when we were praying almost on a daily basis sometimes that the heater would work on the colder days. And now that really will not be, Lord willing, an issue for us. The second part of this is also the aesthetics. We talked about beauty, and one of the things that we want is a beautiful campus exterior, and Kate Clower and her work, she's done a wonderful job with the grounds, but also interior. We are starting to invest financially in framed art and beautiful classroom decor. You can see more art on the walls as you go through the hallways. All that stuff is intentional. The aesthetic of where you work or where you learn is important, and so we want to also raise the level of beauty in the interior part of the campus. And then safety is also always a concern for us. That's obviously a primary concern. It's a large campus. We've been able to fence it in. We've increased the camera. We have an armed security guard on campus. But now it's starting to integrate the physical safety systems. So as our fire systems gets integrated, and now it's upgrading also our training and updating our emergency operating systems, as we now have these systems in place or almost in place, and now matching that with our faculty training and just the way we are handling any kind of emergency systems. The next big point is our cultivation of student virtue. This is obviously a big concern of us, or a big focus of ours. I know that's going to be pretty small, but we see education as more than just kind of cracking open kids' heads and pouring in knowledge. To us, virtuous students is really a primary focus of ours, and so we have an honor code, and with that we have examples of conduct with the Lord Jesus Christ. The 10 Commandments are classical virtues. There's 7 of them. And our students commit to 4 things: faith, imitation, virtue, and piety or reverence. These are things that we're trying to instill in them every day as we work with them, disciple them, discipline them, talk with them. This is our focus. And our students, actually, our solar students, come up and sign this honor code saying that, yes, this is what we're pledging to do. So when we are nitpicky about school uniforms and shaving and hair length and devices in our new math teacher, Eric Scott, calls it the phone condo. It used to be the phone prison. Now it's the phone condo. Why we're so nitpicky about all these things? Well, all this is about instilling them a sense of virtue. And then we have the formal things we do: chapel, morning time, benedictio. Mr. Prothero has been instrumental in house and really incorporating that and elevating that. Small group, we have now student chaplains that are leading small groups. So we are raising up within our student body student leaders and giving them opportunities to take leadership with the mentorship of godly men and women overseeing them. And then we have the formals and informals and festival days and feast days. All these things are part of building a student culture that is focused on doing things in a virtuous way. And really, again, teaching kids to love what's beautiful, love what's good, and love the things that we're asking, to love the standard of that. And then also our student culture has to do with co-curricular. We have a strong co-curricular. Excuse me. We renamed it. Typically, you'd hear this as extracurricular. It's kind of like above and beyond or extra. But to us, these are co-curricular options. First is athletics. And one of the things that we've asked each of the departments to do is to come up with a specific mission for their department. And the athletics came up with this one: to glorify God and develop our athletes to be disciples, leaders, and warriors for Christ. And the second thing I challenge our departments to do is to come up with core values. And athletics came up with these several, and we'll kind of page through them quickly. To fear only God and put him at the center of everything they do. Develop athletes spiritually, mentally, and physically so they can reach their full potential. Strive for competitive excellence, giving our best because Christ gave his. Teach biblical principles that athletes can apply to all aspects of life. Provide a culture of joy for athletes to learn and grow. Provide opportunities for athletes to represent Annapolis and Christ at all levels. They are one of our greatest ambassadors. They go to many public schools, many private schools throughout the state, and they wear Annapolis Christian Academy on their jerseys. They are a wonderful advocate for us, and we need to represent Christ in doing so. And then to teach what it means to be a warrior, to be part of a team, and to be servant leaders, and to overcome adversity. Our fine and performing arts also did the same thing, as we have been able to expand that, as it's obviously been one of our hallmarks as a school. It's one of the best kept secrets, I think, is how great our fine and performing arts are. But with that, this year we've been able to expand the number of staff people that are help supporting that, which is excellent. And our department head, Mrs. Shelby Fox, came up with the mission statement that it's within the larger vision of Annapolis, but it exists to glorify God by cultivating a creative community dedicated to worship, academic excellence, artistic preparation, the intentional pursuit of beauty through the fruits of the Holy Spirit. Their core values are craft, character, connection, and leadership. They're a little more creative. They get started the alliteration, and you can see that the departments is, again, empowering our department heads to really start raising up and having a focus and a vision for each department and how it's going to work together with the curricular parts of our school. Speaking of school and our community, Rob alluded to this already, is that we believe in a partnership with parents. And so we want to not just engage your children. We don't want you just to drop them off and then leave them here. We want you to be a part of what we're trying to do. And we think that's part of our professional partnership. So we provide these different engagement opportunities, whether it's a book club. We're going to the baseball game here on Sunday or Saturday. Hopefully all of you can join us. Coffee with the Head, which happens on a monthly basis. We're incorporating a new endeavor called Wit and Wisdom. There'll be one in the fall, one in the spring. The one that's coming up on September 21st in the evening, that Saturday evening, Josh and Michelle Segundo, who are parents here, they have a graduate here, and they have a son and daughter still at the grammar and the solar level, being able to share their wisdom of how to survive Annapolis, but more than that, just parenting. So we want to give opportunities for parents to come, to hear from other parents, and also just fellowship and community, and start talking about how you're raising your kids, and to share ideas, because we do believe that it needs to be done in community. Warrior Men, which is happening pretty soon. It's a lunch fellowship time. Prayer time, Katie Klein is starting those up. Those will be in the Thursday mornings. And then Warrior Outdoors, Charles Prothero has been starting to slowly build that program. We have archery in the schools program that's starting to take off, and then we have a fishing and hunting challenge that we've been rolling out with the kids, and we want to formalize that to have some outdoor events and outings for families that are interested in those things to go and just fellowship and just enjoy the outdoors. And then obviously our PALS organization with Sarah Brown with volunteer and supporting the teachers that way. Excuse me. Academically, we have moved everyone over to the Classic Learning Test, the CLT. This is just a quick snapshot of our high school. So the one on the far left, the CLT, April 25th, that's what our juniors and seniors took last year. The one on the far right, it's my right, is the 9th and 10th graders, and then the one bottom middle is what our 7th and 8th graders took. What you can see by and large is the blue is Annapolis and the gray is the national average. The CLT is different than other standardized testing, because schools that are taking the CLT are schools like us, college prep schools, independent schools, or classical Christian schools. So this is a pretty close apples to apples comparison. You can see that by and large we are performing above the national average, and even the CLT, it's a 2-point difference between our average and the national average. So we are really excelling academically and pushing kids as been measured by, again, I think a pretty accurate assessment of where our students are at. We've been rolling that out. We rolled that out last year from 3rd grade, so now we'll have 3rd through 12th grade data that we'll be able to start tracking cohorts and also comparing ourselves to similar schools like ourselves. We're also rolling out, we know that for many families, getting a jump on college, particularly expensive college, being able to get these at better rates in the dual enrollment, dual credit. So we've been able to offer these to the juniors and seniors. We are currently offering calculus, pre-calculus, other college math classes, physics and physics labs. For kids that are opting out of our, for kids that are opting out of some of our credits, they only need 3 years of credits, and they're opting out that 4th year. We're giving them opportunities to take things like psychology, business, or other social science classes And then Mr. Prothrow is offering that through Colorado Christian, there are upper-level history classes that are also dual credit that are taught by him. So we're mindful that we don't want to just open the floodgates wide, because for us, having our students taught by our teachers is the most important thing. But we do know that some of these higher-level advanced classes do require specialization that for us, maybe as teachers, hard to recruit and retain these teachers, or that it allows us to offer these with the dual credit offering. So we are mindful and specific in what we're doing, but we also realize this is a need that some families are really appreciative of. One of our exemplary programs that has been recently rolled out the last couple years and now has been more formalized the last 2 years is our Imago Dei program. It is our pull-out special ed program, and our director of that program, Aaron Stapper, is here to talk about it.
Let's be honest, you're here for those sweet little faces. The Imago Dei classroom is gearing up for another exciting year of adaptive education, blending a Christian worldview with the timeless principles of classical education. Over the past 3 years, I have discovered that classical education, founded on the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty, is truly for every student, not just those in general education. This year, we will continue our partnerships with general education classroom cohorts, adaptive PE, adaptive music, adaptive art. We are grateful for ACA's campus culture, which has warmly embraced and supported our inclusive approach to education. I asked the Imago Dei parents what they would want to share if someone asked them about our program. Here are a few things they had to say. Imago Dei gives our kids an education that is tailored to their needs, meeting them where they are at and continually challenging them with higher and higher expectations. This program allows our entire family to be a part of the Annapolis community. Another parent said, "We are immensely grateful for such a dedicated and devoted staff that puts such love and thought into tailoring of those needs, and how much that adds to the success of the program." I would also second the thought that allowing our entire family to be a part of ACA is also an indescribable benefit. One parent said, "We love the Imago Dei class because it provides a safe place in classical Christian environment where differently abled children are celebrated and encouraged. Having an Imago Dei program in a classical Christian school more accurately reflects the kingdom of God and what a true Christian community should be. God-given truth, goodness, and beauty celebrated in people and children of all abilities." Here's what Molly Jenkins, one of our first grade teachers, has to say about the Imago Dei class. "We are incredibly grateful for our special education program, which provides a safe and nurturing environment with dedicated staff and small class sizes. The level of communication and parent involvement is unmatched, making us feel truly connected to our children's education. The teachers have a genuine love for our kids. As a teacher myself, I've witnessed the profound impact this program has on our typically developing students as they interact with their peers, recognizing the image of God in each child. Everyone knows our students by name, and the art, PE, and music programs go above and beyond to create engaging and challenging activities that foster growth. This program is dedicated to the development of the whole child, focusing on far more than just academic goals. The Imago Dei classroom is celebrating a milestone this year with 6 students enrolled. And yes, in case you were wondering, they are all boys, which we love. We love our boys. So we're thrilled to see this growth, and we're excited to continue offering our unique blend of adaptive education grounded in Christian worldview and classical education.
At our last leadership team, Erin had us all in tears as she was recounting already one of the new students had said words that they had never said before. And one of the words, or one of the things that the son was communicating with her parents was he had friends, and they said that he had never said he had ever had friends before. So even in the short time that they're here, the loving environment is really enriching them both with language and academics, but also just with friendship and that community that we've been trying to build across the board. The next category is our faculty and instructional resources. As I talked about already, our investment in the faculty is critical, and delivering on the curriculum and instructional resources that we have is really, really important. So for us, is developing a professional culture, and there are really kind of three main things that we've been working really hard on. One is a collaborative professional culture, is teachers working together, learning from one another, working with one another. We have a number of new teachers, and that was a really important point of emphasis for us this summer as we launched into this year. The second was professional development. Teachers need to sharpen their axe, so to speak, but we want to do it in a way that's not burdensome, but yet give them an opportunity to grow. And so our professional development has been catered and tweaked to, again, having teachers learn from each other and grow together. And then with the new teachers, we rolled out a much stronger, more comprehensive mentoring program. We want, again, to recruit these great teachers, but we want them to stay as well. And with that is onboarding them their first 2 years especially, to make them feel comfortable. Most teachers that we talked about here or talked to here said by year 3, kind of figure out what you're doing. So we realize it takes quite a few, kind of 2 years to onboard these teachers, just because there's just so much to learn about what teaching is, and then classical teaching and all of the nuances of what we're doing as a school. And so we really wanted to make sure those first 2 years we supported the teachers as well as we could, so they felt like they knew it, they had the support they needed through the ups and downs of being a first-year teacher and being a new employee here. Well, I mentioned already, financially, things are going to be razor thin this year, as Rob already alluded, typically they always are. But one of the things that helps us tremendously is the fundraising advancement. And as I mentioned before, Carrie Stice is on board. She joined us this summer, and she's been a wonderful addition as she talks about advancement and how you can help support the school that way. So, Carrie.
Well, thank you. It's been great being here and being with my daughters who are in 9th grade and 11th grade, and it's been amazing to join them. So with advancement, our school, we have an amazing school, and we are truly blessed, like Travis said. But we do have needs, and so you were able to help out with speaking with me, and we can look at ways that you can help. If you are able to financially help or in-kind gifts, if you know somebody, there are different ways that you can help. And we do have a lot of programs going on. So one thing, we do have some sponsors that have already sponsored, and that is through our school sponsorship. So if you would like to be a school sponsor, please see me. There's different levels, and if you do have a business, we do have some advertising that can go along with that. We do have lots of programs coming up. As we had said earlier, we have our ACA Night at the Hooks, so that is a nice family engagement piece, and so join us there. We'll have reserve seating, and so we'll all be seated together. We do have our dollar drive going on, so if you would like to donate to that, that will end on Friday. So we'll have that going on. Also, coming up, it's going to be on a Saturday, September 21st. Mr. Locklear did say we will be having our Wit and Wisdom. So that's going to be a new piece. It's going to be very exciting. So the athletic department will be having from 6 to 9 p.m. a parents' night out. And so during that parents' night out, we will also have the Wit and Wisdom. So you could take advantage of childcare. And the Wit and Wisdom, it's going to be from 6:30 to 8:30. We'll have more information going out soon. And our first topic will be on raising godly children. So that will be a wonderful topic. So hopefully you guys can join us. And that could be also a nice date night. We will have wine and charcuterie. So also a nice little addition there. So make plans to join us for that. And then also a little bit later, we'll have our big serve coming up. That is also going to be a great thing, serving our community. If you'd like to get involved by sponsoring, please see me. Just the serving part is just amazing. We have some great ideas going on with that. That's going to be coming out. Another thing I'd like to mention also is we're going to have our Grandparents' Day. I know it's all the way back in November. It's all the way in November, but if you can let your grandparents know about that so they can save the date. I know we like to put things on our calendar, but that'll be Friday, November 22nd. But lots of things going on. If you're able to help, please see me, and we can see different ways that maybe you can underwrite something. We did have a meeting today to get our gala started, so we're going to be celebrating our 30th year, and so that's going to be in the gym this year. Lots of fun, and so we have some committees going on, so if you'd like to join a committee to help with planning, if you'd like to be involved, please let me know as well, and lots of good things going on, so thank you.
As Carrie mentioned, there are different ways to join. One of those things is to be a school sponsor, and there are different levels. We already have several school sponsors that we're really happy about. As the sports season gets going, we'll start live streaming, and we use that as a platform to advertise. So you get the benefit of, actually it's quite unbelievable, several hundred people viewing a game. Coach Hayden and I will be calling the football games. We'll be doing some volleyball games, and we actually have a pretty wide audience. Your name gets to get put out there, and you get to be able to bless the school. Where does your money go? Well, it goes to the Warrior Fund, and really there's 5 priorities of the Warrior Fund. The first is, as I mentioned before, is to attract and retain talented, excellent faculty and staff. It allows us to provide additional benefits for them that we've been wanting to, and to raise those options for them again, to provide those packages to help them stay and retain them over time. It also allows us to offer student programming, so in classroom things. We obviously it's supplies and all the markers and all that stuff. It's expensive, and then textbooks and those prices continue to go up, and in order for us to offer all the things that we do within the classroom. The second one is things outside of the classroom: athletics, extracurricular, theater. We just talked about the culture and mission as those departments are growing and becoming more well-defined. Those obviously we need money to help sustain those programs. And then strengthening the student programming. So as we continue to expand our vision of what we can offer, whether it's in science or technology, those things, the money helps with that. And then last, what we charge in tuition is not the actual cost of what it takes to educate your child. We actually offer it less than what the actual cost is to educate. So there ends up to be a gap. And so that money helps fill that gap. It also provides help with us as far as scholarships for people that need financial assistance to be a part of it. So great families as they work through the admissions process, but financially it maybe is a stretch for them or difficulty for them. We're able to offer these scholarships. So bridging that gap is a huge part of the Warrior Fund as well. And even though we've started school, there is still room to grow. So if you still know of people that are looking for a school, or they went to, what happens is they'll go from elementary to middle school and they'll freak out like, what in the world? Have them come here. There's still room. Looking ahead, what is next? Again, I think that might be a little small. First and foremost is pray. This school was founded on basically a bunch of families that started a prayer group. And we're committed to kind of homeschooling, but committed to prayer. And that's the DNA of who we are as a school. So for us to be a praying school is essential for us. Second is just, as I mentioned, the fiscal responsibility. We are trying to be good stewards of all that we have. Money is pretty tight, as always, and we want to be as fiscally responsible with that as possible. As I mentioned before, our 3 core virtues of being a shepherd, being skillful and partnering professionally. So as we are shepherding, we want to invest in the student culture. That takes time, effort, energy. As being excellent as a skillful instructor, the teaching and learning process. We mentioned about professional development, the curriculum, delivery of that curriculum. We're updating our curriculum guides, as in 2 years will be our accreditation visit, so we want to make sure that What we are teaching is matching what are in our curriculum guides, particularly as teachers are coming and going. We want to make sure that our curriculum stays the same and doesn't leave with the teacher. And then we're also looking at one specific curriculum area, which is our grammar math, as we are looking at test scores and wanting to see how we can help support our math scores and particularly our grammar in the grammar level, so looking at that. And the last is partnering professionally, and we are really intentional with our communication this year. You should, as parents, be having more and more communication from your individual teachers. For us as a school, we know that in order for you to know what's going on, we have to extend that to you, so we're working really hard at being better at communicating. And that's a two-way street. We obviously will extend ourselves to you and want to make sure that you know what's going on in your students' classroom, but also we're inviting you to be a part of what we're doing as well, and bringing an email or stopping by the classroom, grabbing us at lunch. We invite you to be a part of that conversation and again, in that fellowship as a community. As we close up, I want to read from Psalm 78 as we think about what in the world are we doing as a school? What is the big target that we're shooting for? And I think Psalm 78 does a great job summarizing that. He decreed statutes for Jacob and established the law in Israel, which he commanded our ancestors to teach their children, so the next generation would know them, even the children yet to be born. And they, in turn, would tell their children. And so it's talking about that what we're passing down from generation to generation. And the Bible is full of people that forgot, right, when they stopped doing that. But the Psalms talks about that actually the good work that you're doing can actually be a good word for people not even yet born. So the students that we're raising up will eventually have children, and the word that we're implanting in them is actually a word that potentially could happen for generations to come. So the good work that we're doing here and your commitment to it and your support here is actually a forward thinking. Everybody talks about return on investment. Well, that's an amazing return on investment. Your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, because of the work here, will have the word passed down to them, Lord willing. So cultivating wisdom and virtue, knowing God, enjoying him forever, and then going on to serve their neighbor well. That's what we're about as a school. So thank you for your time here. Thank you for your investment in the school. We'll be around if you have any questions. And hopefully the Hodge children are still around. If we find them. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. God bless.